Hello to everyone who is joining us. Thank y'all so much for joining in for today's town hall. We are so excited to get going. We're going to give it a couple minutes just to get everyone in and settled. If you are not speaking, I am going to ask that you keep yourself muted and keep your video off. That just helps us conserve a little bit of bandwidth and helps us keep focus on the speakers. So we'll get going, like I said, in just a couple of minutes. We'll start off with a quick introduction from Kirsten to tell us a little bit more about the speakers that we have in today. I did update the calendar invite with an agenda for today's town hall. If you haven't gotten a chance to look at that, we'll get started with Jake and Rob from the Social Method, then move on with Kelly Phillips. After that, we'll hear from Matt Altschul and then Tracey Wallace. So again, just going to give it a couple more minutes to let everyone get in and get settled. Thank you all so much for joining. And then once again, if you're not speaking, we'd appreciate if you could keep yourself muted and keep your video off just to save a little bit of bandwidth for everyone. Awesome.
Well, Alyssa, I'm sure you're going to run through that all again when we have a few more people hopping on the line, but welcome everyone. It's so great to just see the different companies calling in for this. We've got representations from, I think, all of our markets except DFW, which is going live here in the next few months, but we are thrilled to be having such a great town hall today, talking about winning online. And we've always taught a class on, what it means to operate in this channel strategy or in this kind of channel. But with COVID, it is changing faster than anyone can keep track of. So we wanted to make sure that we were timely and relevant and bringing some just absolute experts onto the line here. So Alyssa, you can tell me when I can kick off, but I think what she said is keep your phones on mute, use the chat feature for questions, and we're going to be going through 4 different individuals who are going to just talk about some areas of winning, whether it's on Facebook and Instagram, Amazon, and then just, one of the best things that I think SKU does is really talk about the actual businesses that are launching and winning. And so there's the peer-to-peer learning. So we're going to allow questions from everyone and for every speaker at the end. So start thinking of your questions, put it in the chat feature, and we'll get to them. And so Alyssa, do I have like the all thumbs up to kick off?
You are all set. We are like 4 people away from getting our RSVP number. So I say we go ahead and get started. I'll chat those people as they come in. And thank you for the reminders. I did post the agenda in the chat feature. So if you haven't gotten a chance to take a look at that, just a reminder, we'll open up for live questions at 2:30, but anytime before then, feel free to drop them in the chat.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Alyssa, and thank you for everyone who is here. We have Jake, we have Kelly, we've got Matt, we've got Tracey, and they are all fantastic experts. Either they are doing business and really just kind of the experts when it comes to really working and doing a business in the digital space. And then we have 2 people who are running companies operating in the digital space. And I think there is just this interest in how to do it effectively. There's, there's so much that's happening. It's changing. Algorithms change on a constant basis, and keeping track of it is, pretty exhausting. And so I am going to start off with Jake, who is from the Social Method, who is was highly recommended to me by some amazing companies that operate in the digital space and have been winning. And they're, from small brands up to Tom's and Aviator Nation, they're really helping these companies do the conversion rates that they need and really just kind of own that experience. While so much of us during COVID are sitting on our phones, probably on Instagram and Facebook way more than we had been over the last few years, which is just even hard to fathom, but making that shopping experience easy and kind of retaining those company or those customers and really owning that experience is so important to all brands. So with that being said, I am going to turn it on over to Jake. Please do an introduction of yourself. Thank you so much for coming in and speaking. So we're going to go over all of your bits of wisdom and then definitely want to open it up for questions from the companies who are participating. So thanks, Jake, for coming.
Thank you, Leslie, Kristen. We appreciate the kind intro. My name is Jake Mehani. I am the Director of Paid Social and Content Direction at Social Method. And we are very excited to show you the tools and the methods that we are using to find success on the platform. I have a lot to share with you today, so time is kind of limited. But what we do have, what's very special for you, is we're going to be doing after this office hours. So I encourage you to write down your questions, and starting next week, we'll have like 30-minute breakout sessions where we can go in depth. But definitely get ready to take notes. We will be able to share the deck with you, but still take notes. And let's get started. Okay, so first, who are we? We are Social Method. We are a Facebook advertising and creative agency. We grow businesses through Facebook ads. And we were started by the amazing Rob Jewell, who's the founder of Social Method and a mentor who trained us all, who is also on the call today. So I'm just going to get into it. Some things might seem advanced, so I'm going to do my best to make them understandable for everyone. So where I want to start is a little bit of the understanding of basically how Facebook works. We understand Facebook is a brilliant advertising platform where a lot of new brands and services are driving customers, right? When we think of growth today, what is growth? Dollar in, dollar out, it's Facebook and Instagram ads. While Google is still powerful and TikTok and Snapchat are up and coming, Facebook is that, especially if you're a brand, if you're a new product or service. So at Social Method, this is how, and I'm sure lots of you today are using Facebook to drive new customers and get your brand awareness out there. For the first step of this conversation, I'm going to show you how we set up our campaigns. And I know this what I'm about to share with you might look a little complicated, so just focus on the parts that I'm going to have my mouse on. So give me a second. I'm going to share my screen with you. Let me make sure I'm sharing the right screen. Perfect. And let's go. All right, beautiful. Okay, I know this looks like a big and intimidating slide, but it's actually very easy to understand. The first thing we must understand when we're setting up our Facebook campaigns is that there's pretty much 5 different structures to the customer journey, the customer funnel, or your relationship with that customer. The first one, as we see at the top, is what we call upper funnel, or most people call it prospecting. My own language is upper funnel. And these are campaigns that we are going to target people who've never heard of us before. And at Social Method, we like to break them out into 2 parts, which is very important. The first one is really labeled number 2 over here. It's called staging. And that is where you are going to insert your new ads for testing, right? And the best way to test your ads is to what we call is a 1% lookalike audience. And for those who are not familiar with Facebook ads, what makes Facebook really powerful today is you can upload a list of customers, and Facebook can then share a new list with you that say, hey, here's 2-3 million people who look just like them. So whenever testing new ads, you always want to test them to your 1% or your core, because you're usually going to see your best results. I can't stress this enough. When testing new ads, if they don't work to your 1% lookalike audience, do not waste money testing them to other audiences. It's usually, if it doesn't work to them, it's not going to work anywhere else. A lot of other people who might not have creative resources to come up with new stories like to take new ads and test them everywhere. Again, if it doesn't work to your 1% lookalike audience, it's not going to work anywhere. The best advice is to go and to come up with some new creatives, new stories. The next part, when you have, after testing your ads to the 1% lookalike, if they're performing well, which means if they're profitable, right? If they're achieving your return on ad spend or your customer acquisition goal, what you want to do is take those ads and duplicate them into a new campaign, which we call primary. And the reason how your primary and your staging differs is your larger audiences, usually your audiences that are 2% lookalike. So let's say 4 million people in there. and above will go there. And what this does is it allows you or anyone else to go into the campaign, go into your Facebook ad account and have a great understanding of what content, new content's being tested and what's working and what's not. And again, so to recap, what you do with your prospecting or your upper funnel is you're going to take your new ads and you're going to test them. You're going to test them in the staging campaign to your 1% lookalike audience. And if they're successful, you're able to easily duplicate them into much larger audiences in the primary campaign. And again, this keeps everything very organized. Level 3, middle funnel. Middle funnel is very special and unique to Facebook and Instagram only. Basically what that means is you can create audiences of users who've basically engaged with your ads but never visited your website. And what engagement has different meanings, but it could be they've watched the video but didn't visit the website. But it also means, which is very important, is if someone stops scrolling for about I think 2 seconds, Facebook considers that an engagement. And there's different levels. Like if someone does that, you could exclude them. If you feel like that's a waste of money to target them, Facebook, when you create audiences, actually gives you the options to leave them out. But we like to include them in. And just to give you a better example of how powerful this new part of the funnel is, imagine you and your friend are watching TV on the couch, a commercial comes on. You both have a conversation about the product or service in that commercial, but you don't visit the store or the website. As a brand, you don't know that interaction took place, but that's a warm audience right there. And there's nothing you can do about it. The beauty of Facebook and Instagram today is you can actually do something about it. And what we do, the best way to structure it is you want to break out that audience into its own part of the funnel, because it's going to have its own ROAS or CPA. And the reason why at Social Method or anyone, we break out these audience these ways in this type of way, because each one's going to have its own ROAS or CPA goal. And basically any audiences 3, 4, and 5 are basically finite. So when you break them out properly, you're able actually to control your spend better and see what your ROAS and CPA specifically. So that's the middle funnel. And what we like to do at Social Method is you can break it out. You could break it out 60 days, people who've engaged with your ads or your Facebook or Instagram account the last 60 days, 90 days. You go as far out until you're no longer profitable. And throughout different times of the years, your audience size will expand or contract based on if you're profitable. So I'll give you an example. A lot of companies we work with, will have a 90 to 180 day audience, people who've engaged but didn't visit the website. But usually during holiday Q4, we could go as far as 365 days because all those, everyone, you have the tailwind, you have that intent. And so best advice there is always try to push it, right? Let's say you're profitable with 90 days out, try to do 120 days and then if you're no longer profitable, come back. But that is what good management is. Now let's talk about remarketing. Remarketing also, Facebook gives you a tremendous amount of options, and they basically get broken down into 2 buckets. Those who viewed and did not add to cart, and those who added to cart. And basically, again, the game is how far out can I build out those audiences and still be profitable? So I'll give you an example structurally. Usually when we start is we like to create an audience of everyone who's added to cart the last 5 days. Sorry, let me say something. Traditional advertising tells you if someone comes to your website, adds to cart, and does not buy, you have like 4 or 5 days to get them to come back and buy. That is false when it comes to Facebook and Instagram. We've seen, especially during Q4, 180 days out for add to cart that are still being quite profitable. So with that said, let's move on. So basically when it comes to remarketing, again, you have 2 types of structures. You have people who've added to cart and those who don't. The way we like to set things up, and we recommend for e-com, is usually want to start out with a 5 to 7 day add to cart and a 10-day view. And then you want to have another ad set or audience that is 14-day add to cart. And then again, you could go out 20, and of course you're excluding, the 7 from the 14. But the point is you want to go out as far out until you're no longer profitable. And again, that will expand and contract throughout the year. You want to do the same thing for those who have viewed but did not add to cart. I'm shocked that I see on many campaigns that 30-day viewed but did not add to cart were still profitable. And I've seen it with 45 days and 60 days. And of course, during Q4, you just push it as much as you can. And now, but it's very important that you're looking at your campaigns daily so you can make these smart decisions. And most importantly, one of the most important aspects of checking the campaign is doing this is you're removing any wasted dollars. You know, when let's say you're no longer a profitable 90-day add to cart, you know, if you're checking your campaigns every day, you get to pause that right away. Or you could take advantage when you are profitable and you want to push it to 120 days. When you're looking at the campaigns every day, you get to take advantage in real time. And last but not least, the most important is retention. As we know, unfortunately, a lot of companies go under because they bank on lifetime value that they did not actually go out there and get, or never happen. So Facebook, you know, email marketing is great for extending lifetime value and getting that second purchase, but so is Facebook. And yes, you have to reacquire your customers. It's just the reality of today's commerce. So the way every business is different, the way we like to at least start off when it comes to breaking out your customer segments is there are 4 segments. Active customers, which are people who have purchased within the last 6 months. Again, every business is different. If you're selling toothpaste, for example, it could be a month, right? Idled customers are those who have not purchased within the last 6 months. Churn, they haven't purchased in a year. And which is so important, I cannot stress enough, are promo-only customers. Do not waste money on promo. Like if you're using a CRM software or something great like Klaviyo, you could actually segment out customers who've only purchased on sale. Honestly, I exclude them from everything. As you look at the campaign structures, my customers who have only purchased from sale, I exclude them from everything. And that once a year or twice a year that I have a sale, I have a separate audience, or ad set as it's called, just to target them. But this is super crucial, section number 5, the retention funnel. You know, throughout the year, you want to make sure you're updating these audiences and targeting them with relevant products, because this is how you're usually going to have a much lower cost per acquisition. You're going to have a much higher ROAS because they're already very familiar with the brand. So this is how you will take your ROAS higher for the year, your CPA lower for the year, and really, really extend the lifetime value. So that's how we set up campaigns. And to be honest, every brand and ad account is a little different, but this is a safe structure, right? Looking at this, following this, you'll be in a great place. And now moving on to the most important part, which is creative. Now, as great as this is, Facebook is a brilliant algorithm, and we're moving more and more and more where the only way to move the needle is through creative. And creative could be a static image, it could be a video. But either way, it's really, you know, I would say Facebook, to be successful at Facebook ads, it's 20% ad account management and 80% creative. And what we're going to do right now is walk you through some creative formats which are working and which anyone can do. I wouldn't say anyone, it does require sometimes a good editor, but this is a format for any brand out there. So the first thing I want to talk about when it comes to creative is you must respect the platform, which means usually ads that perform very well on Facebook and Instagram, and I'm sure it's going to be TikTok and Snapchat, are kind of that look very native to the platform. So what that means is user-generated content. And the next level kind of user-generated content is kind of editing it into a story. But user-generated content, it's authentic, right? It's empathy. There's passion when the person's speaking about it. It's native, right? I think what we do great, honestly, at Social Method is we take almost like an Instagram story and we add a formula to it. So we take that type of footage and we create what I like to call a direct response video ad. So again, people are scrolling, they see something that's interesting, it looks authentic, it looks native, but it's actually an ad that has a very strong and powerful formula behind it. And the goal of that formula, or any of your video content out there, should be you want to operate. The first thing we need to accomplish is to get them to stop scrolling, right? The first few seconds of that content has to be that interesting. Then we need to get them to digest the content, click and buy. And that's pretty much the formula, and we'll go into a deep dive there. But before we go into this, and I think it's safe for me to say, we are at the point in creative where I like to use user-generated content or that type of unique type of content versus that high production. It just, in my experience over the last 5 years, high production video just never worked. And I think because it doesn't respect the platform. And just to close on that, TikTok's all the rage today. I feel like if your TikTok video doesn't have dancing in it, don't waste your time, right? Or if your ad doesn't have some sort of dance routine, it's people are just going to scroll right past it. So this is something that we're very proud of at Social Method, this slide, and we're very happy to share it with you, and you'll be able to keep this. This is just an example of one of our formulas, right? So let's say you do have 20 or 30 seconds of footage. Lots of times, a lot of the people we're working with are sitting on great footage, but they don't know how to edit it, right? Or they're wondering why this footage is not converting. And so often, more than not, the first 5 seconds, sometimes it's just the logo. The first 3 seconds of any video on Facebook and Instagram, that's Operation Stop Scrolling time. We have to show something. We have to say something to get them to stop scrolling. So I want everyone, when they're working with their editors or their content creators, that's the first thing and most important thing they have to have in mind. And this is it. The first few seconds, 1 to 3, 1 to 5 is the hook. Highlight the brand, show the product, always show the product throughout the whole video, and I'll show you examples of how to do that. The next few seconds is discovery, and then finally, trust and action. And this can be broken down into problem, solution, testimonial, right? That is the basic direct response formula. And if your video does not follow, if it doesn't open that problem, like a great example are those as seen on TV commercials, right? In the beginning, don't you hate it when you spill this and that? Always open up with that problem because you're going to capture people. And then go into your solution, reiterate your solution with trust, and then finally the action. And again, what does that best are people just doing like a simple unboxing video or having someone who's a fan and advocate of your product, because that's going to come out naturally. And then what you do is you depend on editors just to sometimes just fine tune the content. So I know I'm talking a lot and you're like, hey, what does this all mean? Let me show you just a bunch of examples of what that looks like. Some of them, what I'm going to show you are static. Some of them are video, but they're all pretty much direct response and have this formula in them. So the first thing I want to show you, the first type of format I would like to show you is the, we're not going to go in order here, are the, where am I explainer? No, I want to go with are my unboxing videos. So over here, we have a bunch of unboxing video, and we call these POV because it's coming over. And I think what these do really well is these actually combine user-generated with a more highly branded aesthetic. Because what you have out there is a lot of people are very passionate and sensitive about their branding. And one thing we do really well, and it is definitely a process at Social Method, is how do you combine that quality branding with user-generated content? And here are just great examples. So I'm going to play these for you. This is the first one, which is Vessi, which is a sneaker company. So if any of you have sneaker companies, that's product's always the hero, and then use text overlay to reinforce the unique selling propositions at the bottom. Here's another one, very simple. Oh, all these ads I'm showing you today, if I'm showing them to you, which means they're winners and have performed very well.
Yeah, well, look at these. I just got my red wine pajamas. I'm so excited to open them up. It's super cute. Oh my gosh, this is so soft. Look at that. Oh my gosh, my friends are going to be so jealous. These are going to be really good for lounging around with my glass of wine, brunch at home.
And you may be thinking, is that it? And it is. Lots of times what you're seeing here is not the first iteration, right? Sometimes it takes 10, 15 iterations to get to the winner. But the footage is there. You can easily access or create the footage yourself or with partners. The art and science is the editing. That part is a little bit more difficult to find, like an editor who is trained in direct response. But they're out there, and we could always connect and discuss that later. This is an ad we're very proud of, as it combines that high brand imaging with direct response formula. This is for the company called Goldbelly, and they ship food all over the US. And here's an example of how you connect the two. It's not playing, so we'll go back to that one. Oh yeah, it is there.
I loved these brownies when I lived in Ohio, and I got them delivered to me across the country with Goldbelly. What makes them killer? The inside layers. Oh my God, look at how gooey that is. This smells incredible.
And that's it. And that one's been doing pretty well for quite a while. Again, we love what's called text overlay. These little things over here, you could say whatever you want. You could use it. I like to use it to reinforce the voiceover, right? Because, you know, Facebook, and I agree with them. One of the best practices is to create video for sound off. So there's two things you can do. One, have a little icon at the top that says turn sound on if it's that important to the ad. The other is if you don't want to do that, you could use text overlay just to reinforce what the person's saying or any unique selling proposition like free shipping or any other type of messaging. And you're going to see the formula again as we do mixed tiles. Mixed tiles is you could easily take a picture of something, upload it to an app, and they'll send it to you to hang up on your wall. So let's take a closer look at that one.
Just got my mixed tiles. Oh my gosh, he's so cute. Wow, these look really good. You just peel and you stick them to the wall. It's really easy. Oh my gosh, this looks perfect. And if you want to rearrange, you just take them off the wall, stick them, and there's no problem.
Little secret, emojis do very well in videos. I don't get it either, but they do fantastic. And let's look at a few more. And the reason why I'm showing you these type of videos because these are the most accessible for you to create by yourselves or work with a partner and edit. So this one we're very proud of, working with Colgate-Palmolive on their new whitening product. But what I love about this one is this what I call a product overlay at the bottom. And I beg of you, product is always the hero. So when you have a video, one of the best practices you can do is always superimpose an image of the product throughout the video. You never want them for 1 second, forget what are we trying to sell them. Just give me, there we go.
I just got my Colgate LED whitening device in the mail today, so let's check it out. I've had problems with sensitive teeth in the past, and I'm excited to try this since it's designed for no teeth sensitivity. Oh my god, this is so cool. Here are the serums free for the 10 days. I can't wait to try this out. Check out the Colgate LED whitening device today.
And another great tip is what we call something new that we're doing at Social Method is actually called voiceover testing. So if you have a product that can work well for male, females of different ages, you know, you have a good piece of footage, you have a male voiceover, a female voiceover, and you could even a younger female, older female, and that will actually help guide the algorithm to that audience. Let's take more at one of my favorite creative formats is the grid. Now I know you're thinking, whoa, what am I looking at? That's like a sensory overload. And I completely agree, but it works. And this accomplishes two things. One of the frames can be the video story, and you could have the product on the side, which lends to what I was saying before. The product always has to be shown in the video. The product is the hero. We see a lot of mistakes when we remove the product at certain points, just people lose focus. So this type of grid ad or over sensory ad is a great way of telling a video story while showing off your product and different variations of your product on the side. And here we have another Gold Belly example.
Have you ever seen cupcakes so beautiful? I saw this on Instagram and knew I had to order it for my Valentine's Day party. Wow, these are so perfect. Oprah just named these cupcakes as one of her favorite things, and I can see why. I can't wait to show all of my besties.
Again, I know it looks like a sensory overload, but these types of ads perform very well. And because they accomplish what I said earlier was Operation Stop Scrolling. Imagine you see it, it's interesting, right? You're scrolling, you see something like that. We all love food. But then you have the video to tell the story, and you have the images on the side to kind of help keep you focused. And here are just a few more examples. These are non-video versions, but if you're in the fashion, or again, if you have a product that has different colors or anything like that, this is a great way of showing it off. Plus you get to put some text in the middle. Your unique selling proposition or whatever you want to tell them can go in the middle. For the next set of ads that I would love to share with you, this is also great. And a Social Method favorite are the split screen ads. Kind of similar to the grid, but here we're just going to split the screen in two, and same concept. Half the screen can be a video. The other half could just focus on the product to keep them focused. And also we've some testing that we highly recommend. You know, there's a lot of services out there like Klarna, Afterpay, This is a great strategy specifically for remarketing ads, right? So how to bake in that, hey, you could break up these payments for Klarna, Afterpay, or whatever type of payment service you are using. And let me see, I think I have a few more ads to share with you. What explainer videos are very important, especially if the product is of a higher price point or if it's a new product on the market where nothing exists. And again, this can be combined with like an unboxing video. A lot of our videos today are a combination of explainer, unboxing, tutorials. And here, this is a great example of lab-grown diamonds, which are very interesting. So here, I just want to show you an example of that explainer video.
Buying a diamond ring online is hard. You want real diamonds, real gold, but fair prices. Meet Noemi, the safest place to buy high-quality jewelry online. We deliver handcrafted, real jewelry without traditional markups found at retailers. Every diamond is ethically sourced. We use 18-karat reclaimed gold to create timeless, sophisticated pieces. Every piece has a lifetime warranty, and all purchases can be returned within 30 days.
And here's another example of that specific Noemi. This is more of a competitor. Don't be afraid to call out your competitors online. And here's a great way of doing it. So Noemi is lab-grown diamonds compared to another one, to one of their competitors or the market as a whole. And something as simple as that, just it's interesting, it's honest, it gets people to come click and buy. Another one over here, the example over here are prescriptions. There's a lot of different, sadly, there's a lot of different pricing for the same subscription. There's a lot of services out there that help you get a lower price. We recommend Single Care. And just a simple example, these are also great for remarketing, right? There's less of a story and more of a hard sell. And then what else did I want to show you? And then to close, I'm here to show you just more text overlay, right? So imagine you have your video footage. You do want to constantly add graphics to that video to keep people focused. And here, just for another for the same sneaker brand, a lot of flashing, especially down below, 15% off site-wide. And the dual over here. And then, of course, one of the strategies that we like to do is there's two ways. So there's two formats when it comes to Facebook ads. There's two dimensions, the 4x5 and the 9x16 for Instagram stories. You can launch both at the same time, or personally, what I like to do is I like to test an ad out 4x5, and if it's a winner, then we'll create the Instagram story size. And here are just examples of when you go by 9x16. It's just beautiful how it takes up the entire screen. Oops, sorry, wrong slide. And now I think we do have a few more minutes left. Kirsten, if we have a few more minutes left, I can take some questions.
Yeah, I'd love to have some questions, but we've got about 5 minutes. I cannot believe how much information you just explained, and it makes me want to rethink SKU's own social media. So I'm just curious, where, if you had like one bit of advice for young brands where it's not going to break the bank them starting out, where would you have them starting out?
Where would I have them starting out is find someone who's comfortable on screen, right? Anyone, they don't even have to know the product or be passionate, just someone who's comfortable on screen. Write them a little script, just this is the problem we're trying to solve. This is a solution via the product. And just take out your iPhone and make sure it's nice and steady and have them film it, them talking about doing the unboxing, simple as that. There's a lot of tools out there that help with editing, but that's the best thing, the best advice I can give. And the point of the script is, one, to keep them focused, but you don't want a 30-second ad, or you want a 15-second ad. So a script helps keep them focused. You get that 15, 20 seconds of footage, and either you could edit it yourself or send it over to an editor who can help you. But that is the best advice. You do not need high production in order to create great content. You need someone who's good in front of the camera and actually loves and appreciates the product.
Well, that's great advice. And then between Facebook and Instagram, you talked a lot about the differences there and just kind of like what the metrics look like. Is there like a key point of consideration when, spending your time and your energy?
Great question. There's a history there. The history was over the last 3-4 years. I've seen on many accounts is Instagram become 50% of acquisition. 2-3 years ago it was 30%, then 40. now 50. It's a tough one because the algorithm actually knows the best place to hit the user. Is it on Facebook? Is it on Instagram? So I personally don't focus that much. Like once a week, I'll look at the difference between Facebook and Instagram. And if it's very different, I'll create a campaign just for Instagram. Otherwise, I create content for the entire Facebook and Instagram, and I let the algorithm decide the best place to deliver that ad. 2-3 years ago, we were very much involved. We called it segmentation. The algorithm is so smart today. It does it for us. Therefore, we're just focusing on creating more content.
Okay, well, that makes it easy for the company. So I have a quick question in, how important is the copy around the creative on like the social captions? I feel like I spend too much time actually coming up with my hashtags and being witty than, taking the photo.
I never told Rob this, but one time I mixed up ads, or I launched it with the wrong ad copy, completely wrong ad copy, and no one even noticed. So the copy around the ad that you input on Facebook, I think is meaningless. The ad copy or the text overlay in the video is crucial. That is where you want to get your message out via voice and text overlay. Again, it was a mistake I made, but the ad still did well. No one even noticed until I caught it. So I think for sales, it might help, but overall, it's the voiceover and the text in the video or the static image that's what people are reading today.
That's awesome. Okay, so I don't know if you have the chat feature up, but John Waller just asked a quick question about the minimum audience size to create a good A/B test.
The minimum audience size. So Facebook now actually has a special tool called A/B testing. It's a little pricey. I think they want a certain amount of money, but you could turn it off early. First, I recommend, if you're very into A/B testing, recommend using Facebook's A/B testing tool that statistically significantly sends the content out to make sure there's no audience overlap. So Facebook will take care of that for you. But in terms of audience size, it doesn't matter audience size, it's more about budget, right? You could run 2 ads in 2 separate ad sets to the same audience. And the best way to structure it is the spend. I think it's less about audience size and more about spend. I like to spend at least 2-3x your CPA goal. That should be your daily spend to give out the algorithm room to find your customer and actually acquire someone. I would never A/B test to a remarketing or a finite audience. So when you looked at that deck, the middle funnel or a customer list, I would never A/B test to them. A lookalike audience is so large, you don't have to worry about audience size. I hope that answers your question. If not, you could email me or call me.
Yeah, so here, let's just spend the last minute talking about the office hours that you are so generous in putting out there, because I think you guys do a phenomenal job. So why don't you just kind of talk about how we can set those up?
Yeah, so we're very happy. So starting next week, I think the best way is just to have 3-4 of the participants in a Zoom like this, and then they could share their screen with me, fire out questions, creative analysis. I think that's the best way to do it. 30 minutes, because I want to give everyone the love and not them and their account, the love and attention it deserves to really answer their needs properly.
Yes. Oh, well, thank you so much for doing that. So Alyssa and the SKU crew will get out an email just connecting everyone, and we'll probably set up like a Calendly or something easy like that so that they can get on your radar. So thank you so much, Jake. That was
Thank you.
Fantastic. I appreciate it, and I appreciate the social method and all they do. And so now that we fully understand Facebook and Instagram, or we're going to after we have our one-on-one times together, we're going to switch over to Kelly Phillips, who is the Director of Sales at The Stable. So The Stable is a fantastic partner with SKU and has been for years, and they're amazing brokers into Target. They have a really strong presence in Minneapolis, and then they have a phenomenal presence on Amazon. So Kelly, are you here? Hello. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to make sure that your audio is working. And I'd love for you to introduce yourself and what you do at The Stable. and then just talk about the best practices for selling on Amazon, especially with COVID. I feel like it changed up my Amazon purchasing in the most dramatic of ways. And you are a fantastic expert there, so love to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, definitely. Can you guys hear me okay?
We got you.
Okay. Sorry, I was having a few issues before. Yeah, hi, I'm Kelly. I am a director of sales at The Stable. The Stable is a fully integrated consumer brand agency. We represent multiple brands across all channels. So I work in the Seattle office. So we focus predominantly on Amazon, but we're actually rolling into several other channels as well. So our office is really focused on the e-commerce aspect of our business. So I work on the Amazon, in the Amazon office as a director of sales, run a team over there. And yeah, today I'll be talking a little bit about COVID-19 and the impact on selling on Amazon, since it's been a crazy ride the last few months. So just kind of some of the impacts and best practices as we've kind of gone through all these changes. So I have a few things, basically just like best practices, or first I'll just kind of go through some of the biggest changes that we've seen in the last couple months. And it actually changes every day with Amazon, which is so crazy. But what I will say is just the impact of COVID. I would say starting in March, Amazon kind of came to a screeching halt in terms of vendors and sellers. So Amazon really had a focus on essential products. So grocery, beauty, which is kind of interesting that that's essential, beauty, grocery, and then health and household were really the products and the categories that Amazon was focusing on. So that meant that whether you were a seller or whether you were a vendor, vendors who weren't playing in those spaces completely they got no POs for, I want to say, at least like 6 weeks. And then sellers who utilize FBA, they didn't get, they were limited on what they could send into FBA as well. So just to back up, I'm sure everyone here is an avid Amazon user, Amazon consumer, but anything FBA means that you're shipping it into Amazon's FCs, they're fulfilling it for you. So think of that as everything you would see the Prime badge on, that's FBA. So as a consumer, if you started to see things, some of your favorite products that you usually order on Amazon, it was either no longer Prime, or it was, but it was taking months to get to you. That's why. So Amazon was really focusing on essential products, getting essential products in, and then also getting essential products out to customers. So had a huge impact on brands who obviously don't sell in the essential category. So another thing Amazon did to kind of slow down demand was they shut off any sort of coupons or promotions for brands, which, as you can imagine, also has a huge impact. So for another about 6 to 8 weeks, you weren't allowed to run any sort of coupon. Amazon was really just trying to slow things down and focus on essentials and really get their bearings there. So that was, I would say that was like March into April. Things have kind of started to regulate again. So when we did see Amazon open up either POs or shipping product into Amazon, there were restrictions. So if you weren't an essential player in an essential category, you could ship into FBA, but there were limits on what you could ship in. So say you have an item and you sell 20 units a week, Amazon would try to calculate what that limit should be, but we did see them, the limits were pretty low. So a lot of brands have faced that challenge of having to deal with those restrictions. So that's kind of the biggest thing in terms of inventory, things we've seen, very hard to forecast, very hard to plan. Amazon opened all that up for a couple months now, but as of this week, we've seen restrictions happen again. So even for brands in the essential category, there are limitations and there are restrictions. It's all based on what Amazon is calling your IPI score. So it's based on your sell-through, how much excess inventory you have. It's based on, do you have stranded inventory? Do you have issues like not pulling product out of Amazon? And then you're in stock, like how much of the time are you in stock? So Amazon basically has this metric, and they're saying that if you're above 500, that you'll have higher limits going into Q4. So a lot of rules. Like I said, it's really hard to forecast. It's hard to plan. One of the biggest shifts I will also say that happened is Prime Day is usually in July. It's usually in the second week of July. And given all of these changes, Amazon has pushed Prime Day to October. They'll never really give us an exact date until we get really, really close, but we're thinking like the first week of October. So now brands have October is Prime Day, and then you have November, December, which is holiday, Q4, and there's inventory limitations. So I would say one of the biggest things that I can say in terms of a best practice going into Q4 is really, if you're on Amazon and you're selling now, and whether you're in an essential category or a non-essential category, ramp your spend up now. Amazon is taking that into consideration when they're giving you these limits. So whether you're on the vendor side or you're on the seller side, ramping up your spend and really increasing your sell-through right now is going to be super important as you get into Q4, because Amazon's evaluating all of those things right now. They're trying to see how quick you're getting through your inventory, how long you're letting inventory sit there. And the more you can do right now to increase sell-through and increase spend to get to that point, the better off you'll be. The next is really diversify where you're selling. So now more than ever, it's super important to have your products on different channels as well. So Amazon.com, Walmart.com, if you can, if you sell in Target, trying to get in Target.com, just being in all those different places is super important right now, especially when there's different limitations in each channel. So if for some reason Amazon is giving you limits, you want to make sure that a consumer can go to Walmart and find your product. Going off that too, we're also urging a lot of our brands to have a merchant fulfilled. So Amazon calls that MFN, merchant fulfilled offering, or utilizing a 3PL, so that if your Prime offer does run out of inventory, you at least have a backup offer that you're fulfilling yourself, whether that's your own warehouse, or if you don't have a warehouse, your 3PL is fulfilling those orders for you, just so that you don't go completely out of stock. And as we all know, when you go completely out of stock on Amazon, it messes with the algorithm. You basically, 2 steps forward just to go a step back. So having that backup is super important also. And also utilizing your D2C. So a lot of brands, this will be a really important time to, similar to selling on other channels, push your D2C just as much, if not more, than you have before, just so that, again, people have a place to find your products and buy. So yeah, I know there were some questions like prepared, which I'd love to, kind of go into them, but that's kind of my high level Amazon craziness COVID time, and the biggest things that people can do now and in the foreseeable future, since we'll probably see the same things that we've seen on Amazon for the next couple months.
Such great insight to the Amazon world. And I'm going to open this up to questions, because I know that it's understanding the algorithms and how to effectively sell on Amazon is top of everyone's mind. So I'm going to open it up to some questions, but I'm curious, when it comes to Walmart.com and Target.com, is there any challenges, or is it different when you're approaching those platforms versus the Amazon?
Yeah, so it is a little bit different. Walmart recently, Walmart is very similar now to being a 3P seller on Amazon. So instead of having to get a buyer and list you on .com, they now have a third-party marketplace. So you can basically go on and open a selling account, very similar to how you would on Amazon. So like I said, that is one thing that our office is actually doing. We're really pushing and prioritizing a lot more, is running Walmart.com businesses for our brands as well, because a lot of the same strategies you apply to Amazon, you apply to Walmart. And that barrier to entry is a lot lower now than it used to be, because it's a 3P marketplace. And Walmart now has their own advertising platform as well. So similar to how you would advertise on Amazon, you can advertise on Walmart also. We utilize a software, it's called Kenshu, where it's basically a bid optimization tool where we can plug into Amazon and we can actually now plug into Walmart as well. So for someone like us, an agency like us, like it's just a complete, the strategy we have on one marketplace, we can replicate on another, and just opens up your product and your offering to, that many more people.
That's awesome. Okay, so I'm going to ask a question that came from the audience for Jake, but I think you're a perfect person to answer this. So if you have a perishable product and it doesn't really sell online, how do you really determine where you fit within it? Because perishable products I'm still searching for on Amazon. So I'm just curious to know what your recommendations are there.
Yeah, for perishable products. So perishable products, you actually can't send into FBA. So anything that needs to be cold storage, anything that will expire, that is more of a Amazon Fresh, kind of that route, which is a vendor relationship with Amazon. So anything cold storage or expiration, I shouldn't say expiration dated, but anything cold storage like meat, milk, all of that, Amazon won't house that in FBA. So a lot of brands that do have that type of product, they'll drop ship on Amazon or try to get into a program such as Amazon Fresh or something like that.
Wonderful. Well, I don't know if you can see the chat feature, but I'll happily read some questions to you. So Kelly, this is going back to a comment you said earlier. When you say increase spend, do you mean increasing a daily bid spend on all ad campaigns, even if you don't meet those daily max spends, or should you be creating more ads in general?
Yeah, I would say probably a combination of both. So it's July. So if you have a product that really does well in Q4, like you're not going to max out your ad spend right now, but I think continuing to ramp up. I think a lot of people have been in kind of this like conserve mode for the last few months. Like I can only ship in so much product. I'm not getting POs. I'm going to pull back all my spend, starting to kind of undo that a little bit. And, if that means increasing your daily budgets or, creating more ad campaigns in general and adding a little bit more spend to those, just doing a little bit more than you have been doing, it's at least showing Amazon that you are ramping up and you're willing to spend more and you're willing to invest in the channel. So I would say it's kind of a combination of both of those.
Perfect. So one last question from the group. Can you, being the stable, increase your page ranking on Walmart or Target, or maybe it's you for a company. So how do you increase your page ranking on Walmart and Target?
Yeah. So similar to Amazon, through your advertising, you are trying to gain ranking. So when someone searches body scrub, if you sell a body scrub, you are trying to be number one on that page when someone searches that. So similar to how you can do that on Amazon by advertising and bidding on those keywords, you can do that same thing on Walmart now because they've opened up those capabilities. I don't know 100% what's under the hood in terms of like the actual campaigns in Walmart that you can set up, if they're as specific or structured as Amazon. But I would anticipate, that's kind of the point of an advertising platform. So yeah, just as you would, spend money and try to gain ranking on Amazon, that's the exact same thing that people are trying to do on Walmart now that they have this ad platform. I will say Target is a little bit, Target is still, they're not a third-party marketplace for Target.com. So you do have to have that buyer relationship and have them get you on to Target.com. So that's one difference with Target. And they do not have an advertising platform as of yet.
Great. So one last question. What are your thoughts on joining Amazon if you're investing very heavily in ads for your own website?
Yeah, I got this one a lot. A lot of people are like, we don't know if Amazon really fits into what we're doing. We're spending a lot of money to our D2C. My best answer and what I tell a lot of people is, if you're not selling on Amazon under your own brand, someone else is. So I would say being on Amazon does nothing but help you. Even if you don't want to fully, have Amazon be your top channel, at least being on Amazon, managing your content, registering your brand, basically just, you're protecting your brand. So if someone comes to Amazon and sees your product and it's a third-party seller who's uploaded like really bad images and it just looks bad, like that reflects on you at the end of the day, because the customer doesn't know it's a third party versus you. So I would say Amazon is really like the next step. And just, you think about all the people using Amazon. It's definitely a good place to be, because someone else, if they aren't already, they probably will be soon. They'll be selling your product. So you want to be the one who at least owns that content. And if there are sales to be had there, better they come to you than a random third-party seller.
Oh, that is such great insight. Thank you so much, Kelly. I appreciate you and the stable and all your insight on Amazon. So with that, we're going to move on to what I always think is like such an impactful part of this new program, which is where you actually hear from companies who are doing it and what they've seen from success. So in SKU track 4, way back, we had Matt come through with Smartish, and he might have been one of the first SKU brands that was living almost, you kind of converted, I guess, over the course of your life, but really owning that digital experience and the e-commerce experience. And so I'm so happy to introduce the SKU alumni and rock star, Matt from Smartish, just to share kind of his experience in living digitally native. And he's got such great tips and tricks and words of wisdom. So thank you so much, Matt, for joining us today.
Howdy, Kirsten. Can you hear me all right? Okay. Am I coming through here? Uh-oh.
Yeah, you're totally.
Okay, cool. Just making sure. Hey, thanks for having me. I don't know if I'd call myself a rock star in any form, but I'm certainly persistent and have a lot of fun making phone cases and stuff with my brand. So today, I'm not as expert level as Jake is on social media and advertising, but I can certainly talk through a lot of my experiences and some lessons learned that I've had being a mostly digitally native brand, and what it's like to gone through this for the last 11 years. So I'm going to go, I don't know if we want to share my screen here. There we go, screen 2, there we go. Let's go here. Hopefully we can see that screen here. It's just a very quick presentation. Kirsten, if I can ask you, am I sharing correctly?
Try one more time. I just enabled so that you can share, not as the host.
Cool. Okay. Cool. Are we good here?
Not quite yet.
Not quite yet. Sorry, guys.
No worries. There we go. Perfect. Looks great.
Sweet. Okay, let me scoop this guy on out of here. Okay, cool. Nothing too fancy on my presentation, but I just wanted to have something to work off of. I was just going to talk through my Smartish journey for the last 11 years, why I killed brick and mortar for my own company, some Amazon best practices and some B2C best practices. So I'm sure everyone has seen this little graphic about your plan versus reality. And this is so true for anybody starting a business, especially in the consumer packaged goods space. You know, you have an idea for a food and bev business or a hard goods product, and you know, you just think it's going to go pretty smoothly, and you think that you know how hard the challenges are going to be, but it really, you never really can quite fathom it until you go through it. And so, you know, I kind of put this out here just to remind everyone that no matter what part of the journey that they're on, that you're not alone, and whatever pitfalls that you're going through, people have gone through before, and you're going to get through it. And the next pitfall is going to look like a detrimental hit to your company, but you're going to find a way through it as long as you're persistent and smart about your decisions. And so I started selling on Amazon 14 years ago, when Amazon was a very, very different business back then. And back then I helped a friend start a headphone company called V-Moda, which is a high-end audio company. This is back before Beats existed. And we were one of the first fashionable headphone companies in existence in 2005, 2006. We built that up to a pretty good size. And in 2009, I started my company today, which is now Smartish, under a different brand. I started making video game accessories, not phone cases like I do today. And that was in a time when the iPad didn't exist, the App Store didn't exist. If you can remember these ages of dark ages before this, and people played video games at home, the Wii and the Guitar Hero and things like that. And I was like, oh, hey, why don't we make some video game accessories that are a little bit nicer? And I chased building the product before I had the product sold, just kind of thinking and kind of feeling that I had a product that was going to hit the market well. And I found out, of course, that's a really bad way of going about it. And it's a good reminder I put out there to other entrepreneurs that you need to make sure that your product's going to sell before you really go all in on building it. And you should iterate through many different versions of the product before you try building that product. The best way to do it is already have the product sold before you built it. So I started the wrong way, and I built the product. And by the time I launched the product, video game industry was dying, had tanked, and it was a pretty dark time for me. I was probably at the bottom of this little lake here, is where I felt like without a scuba tank, I was just sinking and dead, and kind of felt like a failure. And because I hadn't had any glimmer of hope for a while in years. First two and a half years. And so I decided, all right, we're going to do one last pivot. We're going to move into phone cases, but I don't want to just silk screen our logo onto another silicone phone case. So we came up with a product that we call the Wallet Slayer, which is the wallet case that does really well for us. And finally, there was some success, and we moved into that. And then 2014, I had an idea for introducing another brand exclusively on Amazon. At this point in 2014, I was selling in brick and mortar, Office Max, Staples, Fry's Electronics, some Best Buys, not all of them, and on Amazon. And so my price points had to be higher in order to fit in brick and mortar retail and online. And I thought, hey, I saw this opportunity of, let me sell to Amazon directly through vendor. There's different ways you can do business with Amazon, through the seller 3P side or third party side, or the vendor 1P where Amazon owns it. And I had a good relationship with the vendor managers. And I said, hey, why don't I create a new brand with a little bit lower price points exclusively on Amazon and go through vendor and really kill this thing. And I put together a lot of data points and presented to the Amazon buyers, or vendor managers as they're called, about why this was going to be a success and all the data points. And they bought in. They said, yeah, let's make it. And this is before I even had a brand, an actual brand name, or the products in front of them. I pitched the whole idea, and they were going to buy in. So I flipped the whole strategy. Instead of building the product and hoping they'll buy it, I sold the product, they already bought it, and now I had to build it. And fortunately, I'm good at building products. That's one of my few strong sets. Not great at branding, but I'm great at building products. So it was a complete opposite experience. I'm like, great, all I have to do is just build this product and it's already sold. And fortunately, in my data and research that I'd done paid off, and the products did really, really well. And this new brand that we had launched, which is called Silk at the time, started outshining the original brand that we had started. And eventually we had merged the other brand into Silk, and went and decided about that time as well. We decided, well, these price points don't work in brick and mortar, so let's just cut out all of brick and mortar. and I'll get into why I decided to do that as well on the next slide. And over time, we rebranded Silk in the voice that you see today on Smartish.com, and realized that the brand name Silk just doesn't work. Again, this goes back to me just not being a great marketer or brand or great at branding, and so I finally had the wherewithal 8-9 years into my business to finally get real and bring in some experts in-house that knows what they're doing with branding and marketing. So I have hopefully learned the hard way for a lot of you of what not to do on how to start your brand. But it could, to imagine where I could be if I actually had done some right things with the brand to begin with, we'd be in a lot better spot. But that's a little bit about my journey. So then 1 year ago, we rebranded to Smartish, and it was risky because we're not sure if people were going to remember Silk to Smartish, but fortunately Smartish was in our tagline already. That was our tagline for Silk. And we just kind of promoted the tagline up to the brand. And since then, our sales are up year to date about 30%. In considering COVID and the dip that we took during COVID, I'm pretty happy with how things are going. So I would say Smartish seems to be doing okay, and it's more fun to say. Fits our personality, and we have a lot of fun with it too. So that's just a little bit about my journey, and I'm happy to answer anything else. But just want to tell you just about how hard it can be as an entrepreneur. So whoever's out there hearing this, wherever you're at in your journey, know that it's there's a little flags at the top of each hurdle. Next, I wanted to just kind of mention quick why I killed brick and mortar for me, or why did I cut out brick and mortar for my sales channel. I don't want to say that this isn't for everybody. You have to decide your products and your life decision of what you want to do and what you want to do for your business. Certainly cutting out brick and mortar is going to limit your opportunity for size and growth, or maybe you just don't do brick and mortar until later on. But for me, brick and mortar meant it didn't work for a couple of reasons for me. First was the pricing model. So I make phone cases and stuff, and our phone cases were under $20, and no brick and mortar store wants anything priced that low because they can't get their 60 to 70% margins that they require in my space. Your space may be different. Food and bev, of course, is different, and even electronics is different. But in my category, they want all the margin. So they want higher price points, and so it doesn't work there. But it works really well on Amazon. Customers are expected to pay about $20 for a phone case, not 50 or 60 like you do in the Verizon store. Second, it was great because it simplified my supply chain. Now I don't have distributors taking a cut. I don't have to push out product to lots of different stores and then having the returns, then reverse logistics coming back through. So that simplified me. Third, it was reduced inventory risk. If you work at any brick and mortar retailer, especially in the hard goods space, which means not food and bev, where you make consumer packaged goods such as electronics or toys or anything like that, especially as a new business, you're going to have what's called a guaranteed sale. So Target or Walmart or Best Buy or wherever you sell, Office Max, Costco, they're going to say, put into the contract, all right, we're going to buy in 100,000 units, and if they don't sell, I'm going to send them all back to you. And also, I'm going to put a PO in here. I'm going to say I'm going to pay you on net 90, but I'm not really going to pay you on net 90. I'm just going to kind of pay you whenever I feel like it, because we're going to have a holdback just because we're worried about returns. And at any given moment, we could do a line review and push all your product back onto you, and you could be stuck with 80,000 units that were basically garbage because they've been sitting on a shelf and got torn up and thrown into a box, and then they didn't actually even return the same number of units. So there's a lot of inventory risk with going brick and mortar. So you better have a really good product, a really good relationship. But there's a lot of upside potential for that as well. So I don't want to say that that's the right answer for everybody, because the last point is a big point for me, is it's a better personal life. So I don't mean to get too philosophical here, but there's a certain point in your life you got to make a decision on what you want in life. And money is one of those things. And you got to decide how much money is enough money for you. How many millions of dollars do you need to be happy? And so I made a decision of, I know how much I need, and I don't need to be $1 billion company, nor do I want to be. And so cutting out brick and mortar may limit my upside potential there, but it's made my life in the last 6 years so much better. So just a thought and consideration, again, not a strategy, but a kind of more of a personal decision on your point as well. So I wanted to get into a couple of Amazon best practices and DTC best practices. Now I know Kelly went through a bunch of this already, but I'm going to try to skim past it. I just try to do some really high level things here. So to truly succeed on Amazon, again, I've been selling on Amazon for 14 years, and I do everything. I've started from scratch. I ran everything myself, and gotten all the way into the weeds of everything. So I'm very experienced on all sides. To truly succeed on Amazon, you have to do everything. I know that sounds like a cop-out, but it's true. You can't just, there's no one trick. There's no one secret. But if you don't do all of these things, you probably won't succeed. If you do all of the things, you have a good chance at succeeding, but not a guarantee. But if you miss on any of these, you're probably not going to win. So first off, killer product. Now, maybe this is table stakes and people just assume that this is a given, but you need to make sure before you do anything, like you have to have a really, really good product, because if it's not, it's going to show up on Amazon reviews, and there's no garnishing 1-star and Amazon reviews. If you start packing up 1-star Amazon reviews, no one's going to buy your product again, and then you're never going to recover. So that's number one. And the whole product experience, packaging experience, everything has to be on point, because you're already going to get 1-star reviews from the crazy people that just love to rant about that the Pantone is one shade too light than what you showed on your product image or something like that. So you're already going to get those. If you have any other problems with these products that are actually problems, you're dead. So stop right there. If you're not entirely certain, or if you have a question or a thing like that on your product, stop right there and fix it. And even if you have a product that ended up with a whole bunch of 1-star reviews and you found a way of fixing it, you're basically going to have to create a whole new product listing, a whole new UPC, and start over again, because you're not going to be able to get rid of those 1-star reviews. You'll never recover. Next is a perfect product detail page. This includes product images. The main image has to be perfectly white, really appealing, because that's what they're going to see in the search results. The secondary product images need to be visually selling the product. You can do anything you want. So they should basically just be all your selling points demonstrated in a visually appealing way. And this is the main way that customers actually look at product details now. They're on their phone. So over 60% of the traffic on Amazon is on mobile. And so they're on their phone swiping through those images, looking for the details of the product. So you have to have text overlays and visually appealing images to sell the product. Next, a video. This used to be kind of a bonus, but now it's you have to have it. You need to have a really good product demo video. And you can have multiple videos per product. The first product demo video I suggest being a very simple product demonstration. You can have call outs and things for it, but start off with just showing the product in a very clean way. And then the second video, I think you can do more of a lifestyle video where it sells in a use case scenario. And I guess it could change depending on your product, but a lot of times they want to see the product first, and then if they're really interested, they'll go to the second video. Next, you have to have a great title. You want to have your keywords in there, but not too many keywords. You want to favor the title being human readable while still having some keywords plopped in there. Don't make it too long. Don't make it too short. I know that's not the perfect answer, but there's no one answer for everybody. So there's those guidelines, and it also depends on your category. Certain categories have different limitations on titles. Electronics has a longer product title, allows for longer titles than grocery, for example. So I can't say there's one set of rules. Bullet points, the bullet feature, like you have 5 bullet points you can say to describe your product. Those are important. Not as important as the images, because on mobile, those 5 bullet points are way down the page. And so you got to do it because you see them on desktop, but they're actually not as important as the product images and the secondary product images that are basically reiterating the same bullets, but visually. Then you have to have lower A+ content. This is absolute must. And you can do a lot of repeating. You can take a lot of your visual images that you had on the upper images and put that on the lower content. And now Amazon even allows you to A/B test different A+ content, which is cool. It's a new thing that started maybe like a month ago, and we've been running some tests. I can't say how great it works yet. I'm running tests, and they haven't given me enough data back yet on those. And then variations. That's where you have color variations of the same product, again, or you could have what we call two-way variation. So maybe it's a 12-pack and a 3-pack and a 4-pack, and 3 different flavors of your food, or 3 different colors, but in different packs. So getting those all onto the product detail page, so they don't have to leave your product page to go find the next color or the next or the other size. They're all there on one page, and it increases your conversion rate. And then Amazon likes when you have a very high conversion rate on your product detail page. That's part of their algorithms for showing search results. Next is reviews. This is always a really difficult problem for launching your product, is getting the initial reviews. The Seller Central's early reviews program actually works really well, but it only gets you about 6 reviews. But it works really well. It's only like $60. So definitely subscribe to that. Vendor Central has a program called Vine. It's not a great program for fast moving products or launching products, because it takes maybe a month to 2 months to get these reviews, and it costs $2,500. The vendor manager sometime will give it to you for free if you have a good relationship. So it's okay. The Vine is okay. Early reviews, definitely do. And then of course, automating review requests. This is through something like Feedback Genius or Feedback 5. Those automatically request reviews. You can either through Amazon's request review button, or through your own email that you send to the customer, which is what I would suggest, because you can put your branding language in there. You can't put any outside links or ask for a 5-star language. You cannot ask for a 5-star review. It's a very particular language you have to put in there, but there's guidelines. You just read the guidelines, make sure you stay within that. But it's an opportunity for you to put your brand language and voice into there and get a clever way of asking for a review, but you need to do that. Amazon PPC, Kelly mentioned this. This is not optional anymore. It's table stakes. You have to absolutely have pay-per-click advertising from the get-go and ongoing. If you can't get the sales velocity that you need without running pay-per-click anymore. And you need to be running sponsored brands, ads, sponsored product ads, display ads, video ads, everything that you need to be running them all under successful products. Also, what's everything? Have a Prime offer. Kelly mentioned this. Either sell through FBA, Fulfillment by Amazon, through Seller Central, and or through Vendor Central, first party. If you have a vendor relationship, usually that's a better. Usually, when you move to higher velocity, you should be working with vendor, because it's better for the supply chain at high velocity. But you can sell through both, and then also sell through FBM, Fulfilled by Merchant, or sometimes I guess they call it MFM. Sometimes I like FBM, where if the FBA and vendor goes down, as it did during COVID for non-essential products, you can still sell your product through your own fulfillment. Either you have your own fulfillment within your office, or you have a 3PL. I like to have it within our own, the single unit orders go through our own office instead of a 3PL, because we're a low price point, and 3PLs almost always charge at least a $3 handling charge just to touch and move an order, which is eating a lot into margins. And so if you're moving high volume of orders, say 1,000 a day, it only takes you maybe 20-30 seconds to ship an order. If you can stack that up into your office, you can get much more efficiently than a 3PL. Press write-ups. Make sure you're working with a PR media agency to get write-ups on your products, to have inbound links into your product detail pages. These are important for SEO purposes. Amazon sees this. I can't say to what degree they weight this, but I can say that they do. Just saying yes, all I've gotten is a confirmation. Yes, they do take this into account. Inbound links for organic search results in Amazon for products that have inbound links. So make sure you're doing that. That's also, of course, just driving revenue from press. Coupons, you can run vendor coupons or seller coupons. So those also are inbound links. You have operational performance. Make sure you're on time. Good seller reviews, acceptance rates. Qualifying an Amazon agency quickly. Everyone's an Amazon expert anymore, so this is like a big thing, because if you search Amazon's agency, there's a whole lot of them out there. So you need to size them up if they're right for you. What's the typical size of the client? Are they working with Colgates, or are they working with new upstarts? Do they know CPG really well? Do they know food and bev? Make sure you fit, because you're going to find somebody that works specifically within your category and your size, and you don't want to agency that's too big or too small. Ask how they manage PPC. Is it automated bidding or one person? Ask about black hat techniques. If the answer is anything other than no, blatant no, you should not work with them. And and then see who manages their account. You know, are you going to be working with like a new person they just hired or somebody they outsourced to India? Some best practices on DTC, again, killer products foundation. 2, brand is key to lifetime value. This is something that I didn't learn for a long time, and I didn't put much value into or much effort into our brand. And then set up your DTC flywheel. This fits into what Jake was talking about here, but it's to kind of think about it in just 4 easy steps. This is all there is to DTC sales generation. Getting leads, which is reaching out in your top of funnel on Amazon, on either YouTube ads, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, basically leads, getting customers into your funnel. Number 2, turning those leads into customers. Number 3, increasing your average order value of those customers, and then turning those into repeat custom buyers or frequency of purchase. And if you can just focus on these 4 things in your DTC flywheel, that's what's going to, as long as you have a good brand and good product, this is what's going to continue to feed the engine. 2 things. I always love to recommend these 2 books to startups. The E-Myth, which is basically, these are both really easy reads, which is a good book for thinking about how to set up your business as a franchise to help automate your processes. And 2, Traction, which sets up what they call an entrepreneurial operating system, EOS. And I've been running EOS for 6 years, and I love it. This is a great system that's dynamic enough for a small company, small nimble company, but enough structure that you can keep focused. And that's all I got.
Matt, that was amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your journey and all of the tips and tricks when it comes to Amazon. So I'm going to open it up for a couple of quick questions before we move on to Tracey from Eterneva. So please put your questions in the chat feature. And I just have one really specific question for you, Matt. What do you think is the best benefit of having a purely online business?
I sleep a lot better at night. Life is so much easier to manage the supply chain, the relationships with the sellers, and you have a lot more visibility on the data of what's happening in your business. And so it's a simplified business model. It's not that it's simple, but it's much easier to deal with than brick and mortar retailers. That's my main benefit. Again, you are sacrificing some growth potential because brick and mortar can have higher upward potential, but at a cost.
Sleep is invaluable. So
absolutely. Thanks so much. Yeah.
A lot of little children, I would take a few extra hours of sleep at night if I could get it. So Matt, thank you again. Hopefully you stay on the line. We'll open it up to some more questions at the end, but I just want to be considerate of everyone's time and turn the Zoom video over to Tracey. She has such a wonderful background. She started at BigCommerce. She's a great content creator and now is working at Eterneva, which is a pretty interesting hosting company that takes ashes and turns them into diamonds. And so there's definitely a big selling point there. But she can talk about so many different things. And so Tracey, if you are online.
Hi guys, can you hear me?
Hi Tracey, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. I've been listening to everybody, and there's been so much really, really great insight for all the entrepreneurs listening to all this. I don't know how you guys aren't feeling overwhelmed. There's so many ideas, so much info, and a bunch of things to go after. So hopefully, some of the stuff that I talk about can help a little bit in terms of focus. Am I good to go?
You are good to go.
Okay, fantastic. So real quick, just a little bit of background on myself, and then I'll pull up some slides over here. But I worked over at BigCommerce, as was already said, as their global editor-in-chief. So I come from a content marketing and SEO background. But in addition to the writing and growing tech companies side of the world, I also interviewed a lot of startup brands as well as, Fortune 500 companies. I was writing case studies for them and started getting called in to do speaking sessions and a variety of stuff. And all I was really doing was taking everything I had learned from them in terms of what was or was not working and explaining that to people, which does seem to be really helpful when you can curate it all together in that way. From there, I'm now the head of marketing over at Eterneva, which is an
Ashes to Diamonds company, but it's a memorial diamond, also a grief wellness brand. I still write on the side though for SAP, for Postscript, which is an SMS tool for Shopify stores, for a variety of different people. So I still very much have my foot in the e-commerce world, not necessarily as a direct operator, but I have over the past year and a half become also a direct operator. I also have my own business called Doris Sleep, which is the whole other website tale and story. So there are a lot of things that I just said there. I know all of you guys are also doing a bunch of things. So a lot of what I'm going to talk about today is around focus and kind of what to hone in on. So I'm going to share my screen. Amazing. And then I want to move this and present. Okay, perfect. All right, cool. So let's start here. This is actually a tweet from an analyst and consultant here in Austin called Digital Native on Twitter. If you hang out on there and follow the direct-to-consumer folks, I do think it's super, super relevant. I'm not going to read it to everybody, but ultimately what the big takeaway here is building a brand is hard. And I like to start with that because, and other people have already said this today, but I like to start with that because anybody out there who is making any kind of promises that this is going to be easy or this is a quick fix solution to growth or whatever it is, those don't exist. The number one thing that gets you where you want to be is this bottom part of this quote down here. It's building a consumer business and being 1% better than the competition every single day. So that is what all of us are here to help you guys do. I know that's what you guys are here for as well. But just want to start there and make sure everybody knows and understands, and you do because you live it, that this stuff is challenging. Cool. So I just listened to my first audiobook because I don't know about all of you guys, but I'm getting really tired of screens. So I'm not like, I'm done, I'm Netflixed out. I'm like my phoned out. I'm on my computer all day, on Zooms all day. Like I needed something else, and reading also, like it was just strain on the eyes. So I listened to my very first full audiobook, which was this one over here. Highly recommended if you have not read it or listened to it. A bunch of really great stuff in there. But one of the main stories, and there's tons of leadership stories and things that you can take from this, but one of the main things was when Robert over here was going through the interview process to become the CEO of Disney. He had been the COO for about 10 years or so, and most of the board members did not want him to be the CEO of Disney. And he fought a very, very hard campaign. And from the very beginning of it, he actually had a political campaign person call him up, someone that he'd been friends with for a while, who said, Robert, you need to boil it down. You need to have 3 ideas. You need to make this about the future, not about the past. You need to find 3 ideas and build your entire campaign around them. And I love that idea. I'm a list maker, not necessarily for like home things, but for I make lists in the morning of the things that I need to get done. I make lists throughout the day of small little things that need to happen. I've done project management work before, so maybe that's where that comes from, because you want to make sure you get it all done. Even make lists at the end of the day if I'm feeling like not productive enough. And I'm like, oh wow, I actually was incredibly productive. So lists are super important and powerful for me. There's a lot of psychology behind that for everybody, but really boiling something down to 3 things I think is incredibly helpful for focusing, because as you guys have already heard today, and as you know, because you run businesses and you like live on the internet also and can see all the different possibilities, you have to focus on something. You cannot do it all. You gotta pick something. So for Disney, it was these 3 things here: recommit to the concept that quality matters, embrace technology instead of fighting it, think bigger, think global. Today, hopefully we can kind of wind our way around to a few 3 things that I think might work for all of you guys, or you can come up with your own if you don't like these. So who is doing it right now? So this list was released not by WWD. WWD reported on it, and I can't remember the exact name of the organization that released this list, but these are the brands that have grown the most in Q2 in comparison to Q1, like on the internet. Outer is a furniture store. Draper James is Reese Witherspoon's store. Claire's a paint store. I mean, you can kind of go through it, but first and foremost, and again, we'll send this out to everybody. If you haven't seen this, I also have the link in here as well. But if you haven't seen this list, I would highly encourage you to go check out their websites, look at their Twitter accounts, look at their Instagram accounts, all of that jazz. We're going to go through some of the things that some of them are doing here in a second, but lists like this are super helpful for just going and like figuring out, like let their ads start retargeting you, right? Like figure out what kind of ads are they doing? Are they using emojis in there? Are they doing videos? Are they doing static videos? Go hang out on Pinterest. Are they retargeting you over there? Like where are these things following you around? And start to take notes and kind of keep a collection. And then this quote over here is it really just goes along with the point as well. So this comes from the WWD article, which is just, you know, coronavirus is a driving force for a lot of brands to continue growing. You have to consider a wide range of variables. That includes personalized offerings, social justice stances, a bunch more. The thing is though, one size fits all does not work. You do have to focus. You have to figure out what your brand is about, what your strategies are. So that said, here are a few strategies from some of those top brands. So Outer, again, one of like the fastest growing brand in the US right now, which is amazing. They're an outdoor furniture, sustainable outdoor furniture, I believe. But they grew 659% in Q2 in comparison to Q1. I'll let you read what all of this says down here, but I highlighted a part or bolded a part, which is for them, that dramatic growth can only be achieved when trending interest is coupled with search spending. They used paid digital primarily, not only, but primarily in order to hit that goal. We'll walk through that here in a sec. Cub Coats, 337% quarter over quarter growth. For them, the site's marketing efforts included a heavy investment in paid acquisition. Them too invested in paid digital. That is the primary way, again, not the only way, the primary way that they hit those growth numbers. Youth to the People, 212% quarter over quarter. And for them, an improved social and organic search strategy was super important for them. Again, that was the primary way, not the only way. I'm sure there was some paid in it, a variety of other things, but it was a focus on that that ultimately got them to that growth number. So cool. We are in a pandemic, you guys. I know all of y'all know this. I kind of put some stuff over here on the side, and honestly, as a marketer, I mean, I read a lot of psychology books, philosophy books, all of that jazz. Watch, like, there's like YouTube courses for YouTube courses and all of that, which I also highly recommend. But like a lot of marketers, I think that you get your best insights from the way you are feeling. And the way I am feeling is stuck at home, missing out on doing things fun, but still looking to learn and grow, maybe ideally away from my computer sometimes, or in ways that can ultimately help me feel less like I'm in a pandemic. Which means for brands, this is a really great opportunity to market to people to help to solve those problems. Like before the pandemic, none of your consumers, or very few of them, were having these like thoughts and feelings, especially associated with the pandemic. Marketing's main goal across the board in terms of driving traffic to your site is to solve a problem for people. These are real problems. Your marketing and your advertising right now do need to reflect those problems and how you're going to solve those, at least in like a median, or like in the time, like in the meantime, for people. So a few other things here is that relevant paid digital works better than it did pre-COVID. Again, relevant is the key word here. You can't be speaking into a void. You can't be speaking into a vacuum or a bubble. COVID is real. You need to speak to people in a way that that acknowledges that. Content, design, experiences, and education are super, super important. Consumers are willing to digest more now than they were before. I'd never listened to a full audio book because I just like, it just wasn't a thing on like a list of things to do. And then I did, and I'm listening to even more. So people are building new habits and doing new things right now. Part of that could be your brand, in the case that you're able to educate, create an experience, give them something that captures their interest and attention. And then influencer and ambassador programs build community awareness and what I'm calling like pandemic FOMO. Because this old world of FOMO where people were, I don't know, I guess like if people are at like in the Bahamas, maybe you're like sad about that and you wish you could be there, but you're working, whatever. Pandemic FOMO, I think, is just like trying to figure out what other people are doing to stay sane at home, right? Or to like make their lives feel a little less or a little more normal, a little less what's been going on. So anytime people can find other folks who are talking about that, and you guys have seen this, it's on your LinkedIns, it's on your Facebooks, it's like people going out for like dates in their yard or like whatever it is. There are products that people are using to do all of that. Your product should be one of those. You got to inspire that pandemic FOMO. Cool. So we're going to dive into digital, paid digital here a little bit. First, on each of these slides, I've put accounts to follow over here. I am a big Twitter person. Honestly, I should update my like D2C Twitter list, and then I could just share it out with everybody. That might be easier. But I've only put a couple on each one of those, but Common Thread Collective is fantastic. They write a bunch of blog posts. My like former frenemy who used to run the Shopify blog is now the editor over at Common Thread Collective. He produces fantastic content, vast majority of it about paid digital in general. So whether that's CAC LTV, return on ad spend, creative, I mean, all of it. They're releasing templates, they're doing webinars. They're certainly good folks to follow, watch, even just read some of the stuff that they're posting on Twitter because it's helpful. And then Babakazad, hopefully I'm saying that correctly. He is a founder of a very successful D2C brand. He is also, or has also created an analytics platform that I'll highlight a little bit more that helps people to figure out how to attribute everything, especially if you are on Shopify. So for paid digital right now, and I know this is very high level, but for paid digital right now, you need to be producing socially relevant and entertaining ads. At the very beginning of this time of all of us being together, I think there were 4 or 5 different ads that we ran through. A lot of them had emojis, a lot of them were videos. Yeah, like you gotta get creative. Creative is huge. And you need to be figuring out, what is it that I could offer? What is it that I could say? What is it that I could put on this ad that looks different, speaks a little bit differently, still is the brand, right? But get somebody to actually stop and pay attention. The second one down here is to focus on the tried and true. So that is Facebook, Instagram, Google, and YouTube. YouTube, super important right now because a lot of people are using it to spend their time when they run out of things on Netflix or a variety of other things. But also keep an eye on new channels and test there. There's, Pinterest, TikTok, though there's concerns that if you got started now, it'd be a really short run in the case that they can't operate in the United States anymore. So be wary there. Pinterest in particular is of interest for me. Our brand manager has started testing ads there. One, ads there are very inexpensive because not that many people are advertising there. And 2, there's a lot of people on Pinterest. I don't know if you guys have been following the news, but since COVID, Pinterest numbers have risen a lot. So definitely look into that. It's very, very easy to get set up. You can track everything very similarly to how you might from like Facebook or Instagram. And it's just a fun new channel. But again, if it makes sense for your brand. And then of course, before you do all of this, you need to set goals and KPIs. You got to attribute properly so that you can see what is working and what isn't. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. Okay, cool. Content design and experiences. Again, accounts over here to follow: 2 p.m. and WebSmith. So WebSmith runs 2 p.m. So I would definitely give both of them a follow, even subscribe to the 2 p.m. newsletter in the case that you can. I think it's $100 a year. Very, very worth it. Web produces at least one, but I think multiple, like, very thought-provoking long-form essays on the media industry, the e-commerce industry, the newsletter industry, like how to build a brand for the future, which he says right now is all about figuring out how you build community. Like, use paid for now, yes, to like keep the business up and running, to kind of grow that audience, to get customers in. But as you're doing that, you also need to be building an actual community. And the way you do that is through content design and experiences. Kaylee Moore over here, pretty well-known writer in the D2C space. She started writing in the tech world, and then she still writes in the tech world, but also does a lot of D2C work. So, and that's direct to consumer D2C work. So she writes for Vogue and Business Insider and Fast Company, and is always on the lookout for brands that are doing really cool and interesting things. So definitely follow her, because she posts all of those things so you can see what those brands are doing, and see if you can't come up with similar ideas for your own brand. So cool. So a few 3 points here: build content to educate, then design it for people who don't have an attention span. So what I mean there is, for so many brands today, and I imagine that so many of you guys are like this, you've built a brand, you've built this product to solve a real problem, whether it's like, you know, dog food ingredients, or like, I don't chair, like better things for working at home. I don't know. But you built it for a reason. You are investing your time. You are maybe having sleepless nights or whatever else is going on in your world because you care, because you feel like you know something that maybe other people don't. Educate people about that. As a founder, you are the brand's like best advocate. So I think somebody a little bit ago said, you know, get someone who's like good on camera, and like get them on camera. Like, heck yeah. Also, you could learn to be pretty good on camera. People don't care if people are really that awkward on camera. It's about the passion and the experience. That's about it. Like, some UGC out there that does really well is like really, really poorly shot, but people love it because it's honest. So build content to educate, but then design it for people, right? So like, design it for somebody scrolling through an Instagram feed. Design it for somebody who lands on your website and is like, oh God, this is like a 5,000 word article. What can you get to them that isn't 5,000 words? What kind of, is it like an ingredient print list? Is it some kind of comparison chart? Like, whatever it might be, think about how to produce something that like promotes that longer form content in a much shorter form, that other people can share and digest, and that also piques that interest so that they come over. Invest in SMS and build your list. I say that, one, because there are a ton of companies out there that are helping folks do this, especially if you're on the Shopify platform. I mean, it's like, it's almost plug and play. You do have to get short codes and whatnot approved by the carriers, so that's another thing, but those platforms will walk you through that. Here's the thing though. Come November, come the holidays, you're going to really, really wish that you could send text messages to an audience. You cannot, according to like the carrier laws are very, very strict. You cannot just like launch an SMS and then like message all of your customers whose phone numbers you have. Like, that is very illegal. They have to tell you when they sign up, they have to like click a box that says, yes, I want to be in this. And it can't be like one of those like email boxes that's pre-checked. The carriers get very upset about that. So you'll want to start building a list as soon as possible. People are on their phones, as you guys know, just think about yourself. People are on their phones more than ever, which I think someone said earlier is just nuts to think about, because I think we all thought we were phoned out, and here we are. So start building that list, especially come October, November, when things really get into the holiday season. You're going to really want that list for sending people, like different discounts or products, or even telling them happy Thanksgiving or whatever it might be. But that is part of building up your brand, your community, as well as really getting in front of folks and doing it without having to put any paid behind it. Cool. And then finally here, I hope all of you guys are doing this. Totally fine if you aren't, because I know there's a bunch of things, but start thinking, planning, and executing on holiday 2020. It is right around the corner. And for a lot of brands, like every year people say, oh, like holiday is going to be make or break, but like this year's different. It's harder for a lot of people. There's been, you know, I didn't realize that so many people on Amazon like literally couldn't sell anything. I think I messaged my CEO a little bit ago and I was like, whoo, buddy, like the people on Amazon are like it's been hard over there. So I mean, this holiday is going to matter more for so many people. That means there's likely going to be more dollars put into paid search campaigns. People are going to be trying out new tactics. You really got to start thinking about it now. What are you going to do to stand out? What are you going to do to make sure that the customers you have now maybe come back and buy from you around that time, buy gifts for their friends and family from you around that time? A lot of different ways to kind of go about it, but you got to start thinking about it, and you have to start thinking about it not just in terms of like what like discounts can we offer, but in terms of campaigns, right? What kind of educational content can we build? How beautiful and cool can we make that look? What is the experience we're providing behind it, and how is it going to be better from others? Oh, cool. And then I put this in kind of last minute. It was a tweet that I saw this morning and I was like, oh, this makes sense. This, go beyond advertising, educate, inform, connect, discuss. Advertising is going to get you in the door, but building a community and doing this is what's going to make you a long-term brand. Fantastic. Influencers and ambassadors. So accounts to follow over here. You got #paid, which is like a influencer marketing platform of sorts. And then Goldie Chan, she is a like Gen Z whisperer. I think that might be like how she brands herself. She was a millennial herself, but she is really, really fantastic. She runs an agency, but she's really fantastic at ambassador work and affiliate work as well, specifically for direct-to-consumer brands. She's done a bunch of stuff for like the Nikes and all of those folks of the world, but really likes working with the smaller brands, especially in this time because they need it. So few things here. Online community and recommendations are FOMO these days. I actually think one of the ads that we listened to or that we watched earlier was somebody like opened the box and they're like, oh God, it's so soft. My friends are gonna be so jealous. I'm like, God, that's pandemic FOMO, y'all. Like, I'm gonna wear this lounging around drinking my wine. Like, that's pandemic FOMO. Like, figure out ways to like drive that emotion home for folks as they're going through and watching and saying, actually, no, I want that. That's going to make my experience during all of this better, more comfortable, whatever it might be. FOMO is a very powerful conversion tool. People are spending more times on screens. That means you have a bigger opportunity, or maybe I guess like more opportunities to reach a wider audience, or even that same audience, right? People are on that screen more often, and a lot of them are looking for things to do, whether that's buying products, whether it's having an experience, reading an article, listening to an audiobook, whatever it might be. To like give a good example here, my wife bought about a month ago this towel dress that was advertised to her on Instagram, and it has become by far her favorite item. And she's not alone. Pretty much all of them are sold out, but she goes back all the time because she wants to buy like 5 more for friends. And these things aren't inexpensive. Everyone makes fun of her for having it, but everyone is also jealous the moment she puts it on because towel dresses are actually pretty cool. So anyways, there's a lot of opportunity there. And then of course, influencer and ambassadors can both be really expensive. So this is not a call to do both. If you can do one, influencer does get you wider visibility, can play well with PR depending on who some of those influencers are. Ambassadors though, can often be tied to really, really specific KPIs. You can often get more of them. You can ask or require of them to sell like one product or something a month, whatever it might be. So just think through, similar on the paid side. I mean, anything you're putting money towards, you really want to be able to figure out how you can make that, like what those KPIs are, what those goals are. Influencer and ambassador have two very different funnels, both likely very helpful, or both very helpful, but you just might have to figure out what works best for you. Oh. Okay, cool. And then here, which is like, this is just proof that you don't have to do this alone. Again, there's been a lot of conversation this past like hour and a half on, Facebook advertising and Amazon and just all the things. I'm a head of marketing. I know your attention gets like dragged in a million different directions, and being able to stay focused is so incredibly important. But on top of that, figuring out who it is that you can trust and who you can bring on potentially to help you out is really, really important. This is just a quick thread on leadership in general, which is, trying to, like, it's a leader's job to figure out what the company needs based on where you're going and depending on how it's growing, and figuring out who you might need. So, and I do hope this thing, it will play. Yes. Okay. Tools, networks, and growth help. So again, attribution is foundational. Most brands don't have it solved. That's both big and small. Recently, these are the two analytics platforms that have been brought up the most often in the Lean Lux group. I actually did a quick Google search over there. If you don't know Lean Lux, it's a direct-to-consumer newsletter. They have this private Slack channel group as well. But Nautilus Analytics, and then Yagora. Anyway, maybe somebody else knows how to pronounce that, can tell me. And then the world is remote, so finding amazing global talent shouldn't be hard. So Marketer Hire and TopTal both allow for really fast freelance and contract hiring of the top 3 to 5% of. For Marketer Hire, they are helping people find the top D2C marketing talent. And TopTal, they're helping people find development professionals and CFOs. I know over, actually here, we'll just play this guy. So this is the founder of Outer. They use Marketer Hire for paid digital.
Oh, Tracey, I don't know if we can hear that video, but I want to be
hold on.
conscientious of everyone's time. We've got 10 more minutes left, and you gave us so much fantastic information. I want to open it up to any questions coming from the audience. And so, I mean, well, one, I've discovered more brands just hearing you bring up. I'm like, looking up Outer, I hadn't heard of them before. I'm like, oh, I forgot about Draper and, Reese's site. And I'm like, what are they doing so well? And you are just always such a wealth of information and resources, especially when it comes to content. So I'm opening it up. Who has a question for Tracey or from Matt? Well, as they roll in, I'm just curious, if you were to just say one tip, trick, like where should I start today? I think I'm doing things okay, but I need to really up my game. Like, how do you do that self-audit to figure out, where you can focus your time and your energy?
Sorry, I don't know who is going to speak first. I can, I suppose, since I unmuted first. Anyway, so I would start with your Google Analytics, looking through there and seeing where you are getting the most traffic, who's engaging the most with the site, and then figuring out how you can take whatever channel that is that's doing that. And doubling down on that over the next, and by doubling down, because gosh, that word's thrown out a lot and it's not very specific, but figuring out new strategies for that channel in order to grow it more, to get people more engaged through it. A lot of times that might mean you want to bring in consultant or freelancer help. Sometimes that might just mean like going and reading a bunch of those long form blogs that like Common Thread Collective or other places have, that just have like a massive list and collections of what so many people are doing, and just figuring out how to use the inspiration you find from other brands to go after it.
Great insight. Matt, anything to add there?
No, I don't have anything great to add. I was trying to think of something, but just out of my wheelhouse on that one. So thanks.
Well, Tracey, you're great. So you mentioned a YouTube channel that you recommend. Can you say
Yeah, I think I mentioned that. I think the one that I mentioned it's like this Harvard Justice 101. It's a philosophy course on YouTube. It is not about marketing at all, but I promise you, if you go and watch it, one, it will change your life, and two, it will teach you a lot about how to market to people to get them to convert. Ultimately, it's all about, you know, our innermost desires and how you can ultimately convince people that what their pain point is, your product solves. So Harvard, it's Justice 101, free Harvard online course that I think they filmed in 2010, which is just like nuts. That was 10 years ago, but anyway.
Absolutely. Well, I'm sure that you guys are both going to have an opinion on this. What is your recommended or preferred site to be selling directly to? Is it Squarespace or Shopify? And I know that there's quite a few other ones that are out there. Do you have somebody that you prefer working with?
I'd definitely say Shopify. I know there's BigCommerce, Magento, and Squarespace and other ones that are out there, but the Shopify is taken off as a clear leader for DTC. And what that does is allows you to get access to a huge inventory of apps that connect into Shopify. So you need an app for anything. The first place developers go is develop an app for Shopify, and then they consider other smaller platforms. That's a huge part, and it works really well too. Second thing is, I think Shopify is going to be that is going to be Amazon's top competitor in 2 to 3 years. And that sounds crazy right now because it's all disjointed. But what they have, when you think about it, is Shopify is one bridge away from being a complete online platform, which they've already taken steps to do that. Their app, it's just called Shop by Shopify. They rebranded. I forgot what it's called before, Deliver or it was something else. And now they've connected all Shopify stores into a single app, and it's real clunky right now, but it's only going to take one remodel of that app, and all of a sudden you have an online marketplace of every Shopify store into one area, and that's going to be hugely valuable. People are going to go to this shop store just like they go to Amazon to search for anything, and it'll lead them to your TTC Shopify store.
Well, Shopify is definitely the most frequently noted platform that I know, but it's such great insights. Tracey, do you agree with Shopify?
I mean, you made a really great case. Like, yeah, in all of those scenarios, Shopify does sound like the best. Now, if you are a brand that has an incredible amount of SKUs, I know BigCommerce can be a little bit more helpful and flexible there. And then Eterneva just moved over to Webflow, though we are still using Shopify for our checkout. But we just moved over to Webflow, which is a pretty cool platform for like front end. If you're really trying to build a community and content, it's easier to use than a WordPress might be. So anyways, it all kind of depends on your use case, but like baseline, most use cases, Shopify is a fantastic platform for.
Perfect. And then let's talk SMS real quickly. Is there a preferred platform app for Shopify, and do you have any top practices for capturing phone numbers?
Yeah, so Postscript is my favorite. It's not the only one, but I mean, I know the founders and the team over there really well, and they work their butts off to make that a really, really great tool for people. There's another one called Attentive, I believe, but Postscript, and it's postscript.io, is really, really great and easy. And then for capturing numbers, I mean, pop-ups can be really, really helpful. Also, once you actually get a short code, you can email that out to folks or include it in your emails, ask them to text into that. Them texting into that is considered like an approval or wanting to be on that list. I've even seen brands, there's a little bar brand that includes their short code on on their packaging. So that could be a really great way too.
Well, we are at the top of the hour, and I can't believe how quickly 2 hours went by. We had such amazing speakers, such great content, and always happy to connect anyone to panelists. And so for additional information, definitely Jake and the social methods opening up for some office hours. Thank you for that, Jake. Thank you, Kelly and the stable, Tracy and Matt. Such a great presentation today, and thank you everybody who joined in, and hopefully you found it really valuable. We're going to do another town hall next month, so if anyone has any strong opinions on the topic that we should cover, we're still pulling it all together. So write somebody on the SKU crew, and we'll get that pulled together and try to help you guys out. So thank you, everyone. Take care and have a great rest of the day.